One thing we can all relate to right now, it's been making adjustments while staying at home. And for most of us, this has meant spending less time eating out and more time in the kitchen. And if you're anything like me, you've actually found this part of quarantine to be quite fun. After all, cooking is a great opportunity to spend quality time with your loved ones and for experimenting with new lectin-free meals. But whether or not you've enjoyed this extra time spent in the kitchen, one thing's for certain. Cooking at home is key to living a lectin-free lifestyle and supporting your health and weight loss goals. Cooking at home allows you to control exactly what goes into your food. And hopefully that means steering clear of nasty lectins that's in just about every restaurant and takeout dish, unless you really trust the restaurant. So for today's video, I thought, what better time to share the 5 ways to significantly reduce or remove lectins from some of your favorite foods. After all, it's hard to give up dietary staples you love, especially during a time when you're craving comfort foods or just plain struggling to find certain ingredients. This first method dates way back as one of the oldest methods for reducing lectins. When you were a kid, did you ever see your grandparents rinse and soak beans and even grains before boiling or cooking them? They may not have even realized it, but they were onto something. Turns out, because lectins are water soluble, they actually leach out of the beans and into the water. So, if you just can't give up beans, here's what you need to do. Soak the beans in 2 changes of water, 3 to be safe. Change the water every couple of hours, or better yet, let them soak overnight or even for 24 hours. It's not perfect, and it's certainly not the most effective method I'll talk about, but when combined with my next lectin zapping trick, it's pretty solid. Okay, this next method I like to refer to as the lectin fighting powerhouse, a pressure cooker. It's one of the most valuable tools in my kitchen, not because it cooks food fast and conveniently, but because it actually destroys lectins in some, but not all of your favorite foods. It does so by cooking the lectins out of your food at very high temperature, significantly higher than boiling. Plus, pressure cooking moves liquids through foods more efficiently, so lectins are actually forced out. Now, I should be clear, pressure cooking will only remove lectins from certain foods. So, if you have to cook with beans, tomatoes, or potatoes, your best bet for destroying the lectins is by using the power of a pressure cooker. It won't get every last lectin, and it won't come close to knocking out the lectins in wheat, oats, rye, barley, spelt, or meats. So avoid those entirely. That said, pressure cooking can do a pretty good job with certain veggies and legumes. Okay, the next method for effectively reducing lectins is crucial if you depend on certain vegetables like cucumbers or squash, or nightshades like eggplants or potatoes. The most harmful part of any plant is its lectin-filled hull, peel, or rind, along with the seeds. See, the peels and seeds are where the highest concentration of lectins hide. So, if you're going to eat them, you really must peel and de-seed them first. You can use a serrated peeler to effortlessly remove skins. Because they're super sharp, they work for both hard and soft fruits, even very ripe peaches and tomatoes. Another simple way to remove peels from tomatoes is boiling them for a minute or so. Once peeled, simply cut the fruit in half and use a spoon to scoop out the seeds. Next method, fermentation. While you might immediately think about pickles and sauerkraut, just about any vegetable can be fermented. When a food undergoes the fermentation process, good bacteria break down and convert some of the defensive and damaging substances like lectins. And not only does the fermentation process destroy lectins, but it also allows good bacteria to multiply. And that's great for your gut. Vegetables become a wonderful probiotic-rich food when fermented. That's part of the reason the world's longest living people eat so many fermented foods. Not to mention they taste great. But again, fermenting won't kill all lectins, but it will significantly reduce them. So it's a perfect option to still enjoy some of your favorite lectin-heavy veggies every now and then, like naturally fermented cucumber pickles, miso made from fermented soybeans, and kombucha. Okay, the final method for reducing lectins in your diet, going refined. Now, this is one you got to use in extreme moderation. But if you're really in a pinch, it's good information to have. You've probably been taught for years that choosing whole grain foods is much healthier than choosing their refined counterparts. But that's just not true. See, in cultures where rice has been a dietary staple for centuries, people have always stripped the hull off of brown rice before eating it. Why? Because they know the hull is where most of the harmful lectins are hiding. So, if you absolutely can't give up grains, always go for white rice over brown and never buy whole grain breads. Instead, look for the healthiest white bread you can find. That means a sourdough with no added sugar. I suggest avoiding even the most refined grain products whenever possible. But I want you to have a better than nothing option if you're really in a bind. So now you have 5 great methods for transforming lectin-ridden foods into a safe option. It's worth reiterating. These methods will only help reduce the lectins, not entirely remove them. You should still avoid these foods as much as possible, which means only using these methods in moderation. And if you choose to eat these foods, make sure to take a double dose against lectins by combining some of these methods. For example, soak your beans and peel and de-seed your tomatoes before pressure cooking them. This will help ensure you remove as many lectins as possible. Well, that's all for today. I'm Dr. Gundry, and I'm always looking out for you.